Scientists everywhere are absolutely thrilled about what we're doing in Natural News, and my work in particular in my science lab, analyzing food for contaminants and heavy metals, and now coming up, we're doing liquid chromatography, mass spec analysis of accurate mass molecules of foods and plants. And, in the training of all of this that I undergo myself personally, I can run all these instruments myself. I've spent hundreds and hundreds, maybe thousands, that's coming up soon, of hours running these instruments. But so I'm interacting with a lot of top people. I mean, PhDs everywhere. I'm usually the only guy without a PhD in the room, and yet I'm doing all this PhD level work. But the fascinating thing is that nearly all of these scientists know what I'm doing. They read my website and they totally support my work. And what's fascinating is if you look out in the mainstream media, you'll have industry shill scientists who have historically attacked me or tried to call me anti-science or tried to claim that I or even that I don't even have a lab. That was one of their lame excuses. But if you really go talk to the scientists, they totally support this work for clean food, and it's very, it's actually wonderful to have this level of support. I can go to a science conference, an analytical chemistry conference, a green chemistry conference, or an instrumentation class for training on different types of laboratory instruments, and I can talk with the scientists, and they love what I'm doing. They absolutely love it. I have not yet run into a single person who was, pro-pharma, pro-GMOs, anti-clean food. They don't exist out there in the real world. That attitude only exists in the paid shills, the fakers, the negative PR trolls that are paid by corporations to distort the science, actually to use their junk science as a weapon against the real science that's happening. And real science is the science that people like myself are doing because it's the science of the people. It's the democratization of science. Real science must serve the interests of humanity. Real science is not about making some corporation rich or dominating the intellectual property over seeds or poisoning the rivers with glyphosate and herbicides. Real science is supposed to be about expanding human understanding or serving the interests of the people, serving the greater good of society. And that is precisely the scientific work that I do almost on a daily basis in the Natural News Forensic Food Lab. So we're taking foods off the shelf, we're testing foods for heavy metals, and soon for pesticides and herbicides, and we are publishing the results. Now, you haven't seen a lot of activity over the past few months because we've been building the new lab, and we finished that recently, and we're going to be launching a whole new wave of new data, new analyses, fresh for 2016. And you'll find that at labs.naturalnews.com, plus announcements on naturalnews.com when we are ready to publish that information. So one of the things that is coming is I promised all the protein manufacturers that I would retest their products in the summer of 2015, because remember, I found a lot of lead in certain protein products a couple of years ago, and these companies agreed to significantly clean up the lead in their products. We reached an agreement back in, early 2014. And so the time for that agreement was the summer of 2015. And I was planning to actually purchase these protein products 6 months ago and get them tested, but my new lab wasn't ready. And I wanted to use the expanded new laboratory for this testing. So now it's 2016. We're very close to going out and purchasing all new protein products. We're going to purchase every popular brand of protein off the shelf from Whole Foods and other stores and Amazon.com, you name it. And we're going to, once again, meticulously test the heavy metals levels in these protein products. And we're going to publish that information publicly with the brand name, the lot number, the testing data, the detailed testing results detailing lead, cadmium, mercury, arsenic, uranium, I guess we could publish zinc and things like that, but we're not looking at nutritive elements. So we're going to publish all this. It's going to be free. And this is the kind of science that really serves humanity. And I don't see corporations doing that. I don't see corporations doing anything to help humanity unless it helps their bottom line first. You know what I mean? I don't see the mainstream media doing anything to help the public get to cleaner food or to help do these kinds of investigations. And what is it that you're really eating? Is it good for you? Are there some risks? Which foods are cleaner than other foods? Which brands are cleaner than other brands? Which countries of origin have cleaner food? The mainstream media is not doing that. We are doing that. And organizations like Consumer Reports from time to time does that kind of thing. And they're a great model for this work. I'm an admirer of their scientific analysis and public reporting. So this is what I believe in. I believe in the democratization of science. I believe in using science to help humanity eat safer foods, magnify their self-healing potential with healing foods. And I believe that people have a right to know what they're eating. I believe that people have the right to know if they're being poisoned with toxic heavy metals in their foods or beverages or superfoods or dietary supplements or what have you. And so it is amazing. If you run in scientific circles, as I am increasingly doing, you'll find that almost all the real food scientists, they are into things like permaculture. They're into growing their own food. They're into eating organic. They're into, I mean, not necessarily all these things, but one of them typically. They're into healthy food choice. You know why it is? You know why? Because they see in their own labs what's in the food. And it horrifies them. It absolutely horrifies them. I was talking with a PhD, a wonderful teacher, a man today. I think he must be 65 years old or so. Absolutely brilliant instructor on mass spectrometry. And he said, well, we got to talking about some things we do other than spending time geeking out in our labs. And it turns out that he grows a lot of his own food just like I do. And as we shared our stories about that, it turns out it's for the same reason. He likes to go out into city parks, or if he's hiking or visiting anywhere, and he'll take a sample of a weed or a plant or a sample of soil, and he'll put it in his pocket, in a sample vial, and he'll take it back to his lab and he'll sample these things. And he does this with the food that he buys at the grocery store or gets from restaurants. And in doing so, he sees the pesticides, the herbicides, the heavy metals, the hormone mimickers, the phthalate chemicals, all of these other things that are toxic. He sees those in the environment and in the foods all around us. And as a result, he grows much of his own food because that's the only food that's clean. This is a guy who can look at the accurate mass molecules, even the molecular isotopes of phytochemicals in a strawberry, for example. And he can tell you exactly what the molecular components are in that food. And, there's an overlay of this pesticide, there's that herbicide, there's that chemical. He knows how to read all of this because he's got 40 years experience doing this. Or maybe not 40, 30 is more like it. I've reached the same conclusion because I look at food contaminants in my laboratory using ICP-MS analysis, heavy metals or elemental analysis, and I see, even though so far I haven't been looking at intact organic molecules, what I've been looking at is the elements, such as lead, cadmium, arsenic, and mercury, and I see the levels of that in the food, and that's shocking to me. If you had a pair of X-ray vision glasses and you could actually see pesticides and heavy metals, you would probably freak out. You would be shocked at the contaminants that are in the food sold at the grocery store or sold as, quote, organic, grown in China, or sold as a superfood or a dietary supplement, you'd be blown away. You'd be shocked. But until you own the instruments and know how to run them, you don't really have that X-ray vision. So you have to rely on other people who have the instrumentation and have the time and willingness to do this. You have to rely on them to do the tests and sort of lend their vision to you. And that's what I do. I test the foods off the shelf. I use the best modern day scientific analysis that is available anywhere in the world, the best methodologies, AOAC methodologies, EPA methodologies, you name it. And then we publish those results. That gives you information that you can use to lead a healthier life and reduce your exposure to dietary toxins. That, my friends, is what real science is all about. It's about expanding human knowledge to enhance the quality of life for human beings all around the planet. And it's about giving the power back to the people and not allowing scientific dictatorships or scientific monopolies that are run by governments or corporations or universities that often do not want anyone else to be able to conduct science. They want to tell you, like the EPA wants to tell you what's in the water. They don't want you testing the water yourself. The FDA doesn't want you testing the food yourself. They want to tell you what's in the food, or actually they want to avoid telling you what's in the food. You know, it's a fundamental truth. So when we are giving you this data directly, we are bypassing these institutions of control and censorship and monopolization. We are setting science free, which is the way it was intended to be applied in our society. That is powerful. And that is what I'm all about with this endeavor. So if you'd like to stay plugged into this, you'd like to learn all of this data that we're going to be unveiling, just stay tuned to naturalnews.com. Subscribe to the email newsletter. It's free. You get an update every day, and we'll announce all these findings day by day as they come out. And check out labs.naturalnews.com for the data as we begin to publish it here in 2016. It's going to be a very exciting year. This is going to be the year of food science breakthroughs for the people. And we here at naturalnews.com are spearheading the science of the clean food movement. No one else in the world is doing this. No one. No one is an activist with their own private lab and a large reach on the internet to be able to get this information out. We're doing it because it's the right thing to do. Humanity deserves clean food, and it's time to break the monopolies of science or scientific dictatorships that the corporations and governments are trying to thrust upon us all. It's time that science worked on behalf of the people. Okay? No more scientific monopolies. It's time for 100% science transparency of what's in our food. So check it out at naturalnews.com, and thanks for listening. Check out all my podcasts at healthrangerreport.com.